Type Podcast Studios.
Hi, I'm Anna, and welcome to Boardroom Backchat, the Paramount Media podcast. Welcome to episode 5. With us today we have Sharon Rotherham, chartered and forensic accountant and local businesswoman, and Jonathan Guy, director and owner of Aqueous Digital. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourselves before we start?
Yeah, sure. My name, like you said, Sharon Rotherham. I've got multiple businesses. By trade, I am a chartered accountant. I've retired from practice. Now I just focus on my other businesses, and I operate as a forensic chartered accountant specialising in crime and employee theft.
Okay. And I'm Jonathan, and I run Aqueous Digital. We are a local digital marketing company specialising in search engine optimisation predominantly, but we also do reputation management, which is why I'm here today.
Yeah.
We've been in Halton since our inception, which was in 2011, until last November when we moved to Frodsham, and we now have a wonderful office on the Frodsham railway station, would you believe?
Lovely.
It's brilliant. It's a lovely office.
Oh, really nice. Lovely. So to set us off this morning, we have a quick fire round. So if you grab your paddles.
Right.
So I'll just ask you some quick fire yes or no questions, quick answer, and just your instinctive answer. And then
So we're speaking as well.
Just a quick one.
Okay.
Next question.
Okay.
And then we can see where the conversation's gonna take us. So first question: should business owners share political views? Okay. Can a CEO's politics be separate from the brand? Right. Sharing strong political views will negatively impact your brand.
Both.
Interesting. Okay. It is unfair that old content can define someone's reputation forever. And reputation management is becoming essential for anyone in public-facing roles.
Absolutely.
Fab. Okay, so we're pretty much in agreement on all of those.
Interesting. All right. I couldn't see your paddles.
Oh,
but
no,
yeah.
the same as yours, except one 50-50.
Yeah, yeah.
So we'll start off then in terms of political views in business. So as a business owner, well, both of you that are, do you think you should be vocal about your political views? Sharon, I know that you're involved in politics to a degree as well. So do you think that you should do that as a business owner? Mm-hmm. Is it negative to your brand? What's your opinion?
I think it's quite a varied topic. I think they've always been linked, but I think with social media and the rapid how news can spread quickly, it can be damaging. Many years ago, when I first practiced, I was always very vocal, but I didn't think it would ever have a negative impact on me, and it has as time's gone on. Also, I used to see my business as mine, and I never separated myself from it. It was like my living room, so it was kind of like what I say goes. So if you don't like it, but as it's got bigger and you have to separate yourself from the business and you're just a stakeholder in the business, then I think it should be kept out of it. I think it can cause employee rifts, and unless it's part of your values as a business, it can cause, you're going to upset somebody. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, at the minute, the country's 50-50 with most things.
Yeah.
So you're going to alienate. I have, over the years, when I've seen a business promote things, never bought from them again, especially in the time when things went crazy, where businesses were promoting things when they didn't do that before. And I used to think, no, I don't want to hear that there, even in sport. I don't think it's right.
Yeah.
And my husband was so strict, he would never, with his businesses, say what football team he supported, because he wouldn't want to upset customers that were the other one.
Yeah.
So it's very dangerous. It is dangerous.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What do you think, Jonathan, from your...
I can't disagree. I mean, the problem I have with this is, when did this become a thing? Because I remember when a time when business had nothing to do with politics. It was irrelevant what your politics were. Your business was your business. And even now, you'll still see large businesses who don't have a political affiliation. They'll work with whoever's in government or indeed in opposition. But we seem to have got to this situation now where you have to be defined by your politics. And I disagree fundamentally with that, because irrespective of your politics, your business is set up to deliver a product or a service to enhance the lives of the people who you serve. Why would it matter what your politics are? If you were in a crisis scenario, so there's a crash on a motorway and you have to pull people out of a wagon, you're not going to stop and say, well, which party did you vote for, right?
Exactly,
Why?
yeah.
You just wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So why do we extend that into the business world and indeed into sports and everywhere else? That's the bit that's kind of, I still don't have an answer for it. I really don't. And I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. I think we are very much where we are. But it probably would be better if it would go away, if politics and business were separated.
Yeah. I think from, like, when I was growing up, these are the things you never asked. I never knew who my parents voted for, ever. It was very private, wasn't it? You never knew who they voted for, what the mortgage was, and what they earned. It was just the type of thing
Typical
that you never,
English.
you never found out about anybody. But now everybody seems to want to know the ins and outs of everybody's opinion, what side you're on, and
Absolutely.
Well, and this is one of the daft things, because whenever an election comes round, I do what I've done for the previous couple of elections. I get all the manifestos I can get hold of and I read them all. It sounds like a daft thing, but if you want to make an informed choice as to who you think would be the best person or party to represent your views, surely you need to understand their views first.
Absolutely.
But so many people I speak to have never even seen a manifesto, never mind actually read any part of it, which begs the question, well, how can you form your opinion politically if you have no ideas of what these people stand for?
Yeah.
And you've seen examples of this recently, and without going into specifics, there was a very recent by-election where the Green Party won, and yet the large proportion of the voting bloc that voted for them, if they'd seen the manifesto and the policies that are espoused there, would probably not vote for them because they are directly and diametrically opposed to what they believe.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of it's an interesting one. So how did we get to this point where we are so uncritical, or where we believe what we're told on social media and in the newspapers without actually asking the question, well, is that real?
Why do you support them? I know in Widnes particularly, people, it's very Labour stronghold, and people often voted Labour because everybody did. Because years ago it was, if you're rich, you vote Conservative, if you're working class, you vote Labour. So when I've said to people over the years, why do you still vote them? Like my dad did, my granddad did. You know, that kind of mentality. But you're absolutely right there.
Well, but to be fair, the granddad smoked and the dad smoked, but they don't.
Yeah, true, yeah.
Why? Because they're better educated now than they were back then. So people can change. People do change.
Oh, yeah,
but you're absolutely right.
yeah.
There are voting intentions, voting blocks in certain geographical locations. And we know this.
Yeah.
We've known this. You can look at the political map over many, many years, and it doesn't really change a great deal.
No.
It might do in the coming couple of years, but it hasn't done for a very, very long time.
Yeah. So in terms of your brand, Sharon, do you think you've ever, you said that you've had negative experiences with you giving a political view?
Not with my brand, with me individually.
Very personal.
Because I've been vocal when it didn't ruin your life to be vocal, then it's affected my political career later on. And when I've been vetted, I've failed vetting because of pictures on social media 10 years ago. Wow. I know, which I think is terrible. But
that's where we said about on the yes or no's there that it can damage you forever.
Yeah.
Because what's on the internet is there forever now, isn't it?
Oh,
and back in the day, that wasn't a thing.
I wouldn't take it down because I would stand by what I always said. Because I was approached with that, well, can you kind of move your views? I thought, no, I'm not doing that. because I'm not being shaped. If you don't agree with what I think, then I'm in the wrong place. So it has damaged me.
Yeah. And from what you do with the reputation management, Jonathan, does that make your job harder? Because the internet's been going that much longer now that there's that much history.
Yes and no. So in Sharon's case, for example, we've got a very nice piece of software which Sharon can use to find out every single post she's ever put on X or Twitter as it was, on Facebook, on Insta, on TikTok, a whole range of others. So you can go as far back as day dot,
right?
And it will categorise your posts for you and tell you if there's anything there that contains profanity or nudity or a whole range of other categories. And then you can decide whether you want to cleanse it or not. So there's tools now to allow people to help curate what they have. But as you say, I don't want to change anything I've put.
Because mine is only political. I've not done a lot of posting in my life.
No.
And it is a lot of sharing, really, if I see something that I think is important.
And even that gets people into trouble these days, liking or sharing something. So the fact that there's a lot of material out there really isn't a problem in as much as it can be taken down by the individual, or in certain circumstances we can remove it from the search results, which is important. And we work with a great many individuals who have a particular problem. For example, a newspaper carries a story which is factually correct. And we had this a few years ago with a wonderful lady we worked with. And the story that they carried was one of her being in court and she was found guilty. She was convicted of something. She wasn't sent away, so she'd fine and slap on the wrist. But that story stayed there. Now, her name was unique. You put her name into the internet, the only thing that comes up is that. Fast forward 8 years later, she's looking for a job. People are searching her online and going, oh, look at that. So that sort of thing, that didn't feel fair because rehabilitation is one of the key parts of the penal system.
Yeah.
So we work with her solicitor. We use the Rehabilitation of Offenders Act to be able to go to the search engines to say, if this lady was putting a CV into this company, they wouldn't have to disclose that they'd had a criminal conviction because it's now spent, it's gone past that point where you have to disclose it. So why is it still on the internet? And on that basis, we managed to get it removed. 4 weeks later, she got a job, which is great because she'd been unemployed for a year and spent all her money trying to clean it up. Not with us, I hasten to add. She came to us 3 months before this happened. We worked for 3 months with her. She then ran out of money. So we worked the last 2 months pro bono because we were invested in it. And we just wanted to make it happen. So you can do this. And indeed, yesterday afternoon, I was on a conference call with a very interesting set of lawyers in London and a very, very good friend of ours who helps remove stuff like this from the internet. We've agreed to do a piece of pro bono work to remove the mention of somebody who was in a very high-profile case a couple of years ago, but was not named in the newspapers. But the speculation online said, well, we know who it is, and they shared it around. We're now in a process, and it will take about 5 or 6 months to do it, but we'll remove all instances of them actually appearing in a search for the other individual that was the problem in this particular case. And that makes us feel good.
Yeah, that's really good.
Because it helps. They didn't ask to be brought into this, but their life has been absolutely destroyed by it. I mean destroyed. And we see this so often. So, it's really important that we should be able to clear stuff up where it doesn't need to be there.
What's the process? How do you do that? Is it that you mentioned about the law and different ways that you can go down there? But how do you do it?
We have a straightforward process. So the first thing is we need to understand who the individual is. So we need a name and we need what the problem is, because that's where you're going to find the posts and indeed articles from newspapers and online forums and wherever about that particular person and the issue that they've faced. We do effectively desk research in the first place. We've got 2 ways of doing it: open source intelligence, which is what the normal human being would find. There's a second thing we do, which is there's an AI-powered tool which goes globally picks 1 billion data points, goes through 23 social media platforms as well, looking for everything, doesn't miss a trick. And then we know the size and the scale of the problem.
Right.
What we then do is work out a strategy, and the strategy really has to be, what bits can we remove and what do we need to replace it with? Because don't forget, when you take something away from Google's index, it's going to put something else in there. So we help them build assets which will rank on page 1 of Google. And by doing that, you start to control the narrative when people look online for those individuals. And that does take time. It can take, we've just engaged with a gentleman who's got a bit of a problem. It's one article that's causing him a problem. We reckon it's between 2 and 5 years to remove it. But we've said we'll do it, and we'll do it for one flat fee. That's it. We'll just keep going until we get there.
Wow.
But it's important that we do it, because this is now stopping this person getting work. They've done nothing wrong, by the way.
Yeah.
They were accused of something, completely exonerated,
Yeah.
no charges, nothing. In fact, they said they were surprised anything had even got this far, because there was no evidence that this had ever happened. Completely exonerated, wholly. And yet one of the newspapers decided to spin a story, where in the middle of the story it says he was completely exonerated, but the headline and the first bit and the last bit make it sound like this individual's an absolute rogue and it's destroyed their life.
Yeah.
So we're really keen on making sure that sort of stuff gets cleared up. We then do a sweep at the end of it to make sure that nothing else pops up. And as I described it to one of our clients the other day, when I emailed them, I said, we're still fighting the many-headed hydra, but we will get there. We will defeat the beast. So yeah, it takes time, but it is something which we can do.
It's fascinating.
It is,
I just think it is, because, yeah, it's so damaging. And when you said about that lady that's got quite a unique name, I'm in that boat myself. So my surname is quite, so it's Polish, and there's not many of us across the country.
No.
So yeah, we have to be careful. We can stand out. And there's the family member actually that changed his name and went back to his mum's maiden name for similar reason, and others, but a similar reason to that, because he was very easily identified. And so do you think does that make your job easier if there's less of them? So in my case, there's only probably a couple of families across the UK that have got my name. Does that make it easier to find information on me, for example, and clean it up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if you're called Anna Smith, then I might struggle to find exactly everything about you. But yeah, with the name that you've got, it's very easy to find everything about you, and it's then easier to clean it up if we can clean it up. Not everything can be cleaned, don't forget.
Yeah.
There are some things that need to be kept there, and newspapers are very reluctant to take things down. Newspapers will always tell you that this is a matter of public record, and we're not obliged to remove it. So we had a really interesting case recently. We're working with a wonderful gentleman, and there were 7 articles on one particular newspaper publishing group's set of websites. And we approached them directly to see if we could get these removed. I won't tell you what we used or what the angle was, but at the end of the conversation, they removed 5 of them immediately, despite the public record argument. They recognised that what their stories were doing, not just to them, but to their family, didn't justify keeping them in place. So we got 5 out of 7 removed, and the other 2 are fairly benign anyway, which we've managed to subsequently remove from the search results. So yeah, it can be really, really hard sometimes to get stuff off. Unique names make it easier to find, but conversely, it's easier for people to dig up dirt on you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We've done a couple of podcasts previously, so one on free speech, one on AI, which probably all pulls in, ties together here. So on the free speech, so we kind of went full circle, really, that there is free speech, but it's not without consequence. And then your consequence, your level of influence can dictate the consequence that you get. So yeah, very, very similar, isn't it? The impact that this has on your free speech.
Yeah.
But do you think that cleaning up things, so maybe in the terms of posts that an individual might have put on their Facebook where they've expressed an opinion in their free speech, but then it's had an impact. But cleaning it up, is that then removing their free speech? Is it censoring them? Is there an issue there?
It's not removing their freedom of speech if they choose to do that.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we do, the tool I mentioned before for Sharon, we like to talk to sports clubs about this and say, you should put your junior teams through this, because if they're 15, 16 and 17, they should be looking back on what they posted when they were 13 years old, because quite often it's not stuff that they're going to be proud of. And the question you can ask them then is, do you want this to follow you round for the rest of your life? If you don't, well, remove it. I mean, bear in mind, I'm old enough now to be able to go, well, I said stuff when I was younger.
Yeah, we all
and
change.
I did stuff
Everybody
when I was younger
changes,
that nobody knows about, and nobody recorded.
We're from that time.
Exactly. It's a different era.
Yeah.
So we don't have that problem of stuff dogging us 20 years from the past. So I think it's important that we can offer people the opportunity to do that. As you said, I don't want to change it. No. I don't want to change anything I've put. Great, stand by your convictions.
Yeah,
Love that.
I do.
Have some courage of your convictions.
Yeah.
But if people now go,
I work for myself, so it's easy. I understand other people. My daughter's very frightened. She's a teacher, and she's very frightened of anything I would say.
Well, yes, and that's a classic example of a profession which has a distinctive political leaning relative to where your daughter may be. Yeah. So therefore, she's almost hiding what she wants to say because she feels she can't say it.
I think a lot of society is like that now.
So yeah, you have freedom of speech right up to the moment you don't.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Do you think that could impact your daughter's then career with where she works? Just because of your opinion, does it have that impact?
We don't have the same name, which is lucky. But I would have thought in the country that I was brought up in, no, it was fair then, weren't it? Things were common sense and they were fair, but these days you just don't know. Other things have impacted her in social conversations, because I have quite a high profile. And she'll say to me, oh, Mum, don't say. And if I go out, especially in company with her friends in London, where everything is more liberal, she's always like, don't. She was angry because they could see my phone and they had news apps on there that were leaning a certain way. Like, how can you be friends with somebody if you can't be honest?
Yeah.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
But I do think it's a generational thing where she's like learned to adapt and survive. And I think that's taking away my rights. I'll say what I would say in the 1970s. No, don't take that from me. I was born with that right.
Yeah.
Self-censoring is a big issue, and one which we don't talk about enough, but lots of people do it.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. I think it's interesting when you said about things that, have been said previously with people and it affects them getting jobs later on. And recently, hasn't there, with Nigel Farage, for example, things that people have come forward and said, he said things when he was a teenager. Yeah. Like, wow. We've all said things when we were a teenager that probably, age like milk.
And times were very different then.
Yeah.
Like, so what made you laugh at 17 doesn't make you laugh at 27.
Yeah.
We do completely change as people. And everybody should be judged on that. That's not fair.
Yeah. It's just worrying now for this generation, isn't it?
It's terrifying.
You used, like you said, you used to say it out loud and then it'd disappear, wouldn't it?
Nobody would remember. But I say to my little 13-year-old, be careful, because he talks about things. I think, where have you got that from? And he's in group chats talking about politics and Iran now, and I'm like, be careful, I don't want them to get in trouble, But me, I'll stand by and fall on my sword if I have to, but I don't want it for the kids.
Yeah.
But they're up to all kinds now, and it's very frightening.
Yeah. So back to your brand with Showing Views. So we said, it can negatively affect, but there are examples, aren't there, where it's been positive for certain brands. So what I'm thinking of really, negatively, Elon Musk.
Yeah.
So got heavily involved in politics, didn't he? Had a massive impact on Tesla's sales, shares, reputation, the brand, protests outside stores. So again, negatively impact his brand because of his opinions. But then on the other side, American Eagle, where they, you know, last year did their marketing campaign that was then took culturally and politically, you know, a bit of backlash there, whether intentional or not. But there was a lot of backlash, but then that positively impacted their brand. So their sales went up, their reputation, their visibility. Yeah. So do you think it's negatively more than positive? Because it can obviously in that situation have a positive.
I think it's negatively more, and I think they can jump on the bandwagon. It can be a bit trendy, as we've seen in COVID. There was trends going around, and that brands jumped on bandwagons for that. So I think sometimes it's a strategy, not that they really believe in it, that they think, oh well, you know, let's jump onto that, and people will see us more as a human and not just a faceless entity. You like bring in a bit of emotion into a brand.
Yeah. Yeah, I think is it Ben and Jerry's as well? They take quite political views on quite a lot of things, but you expect that from them now. They've took that stance all along. Do you see any positive impacts anywhere from anybody that you've worked with?
Well, there are firms who firmly nail their colours to the mast and say we are proudly left, right, centre, wherever, and expect their customers to then reflect them as brands and as businesses. And, you know, that can be a successful strategy. However, I find that one fraught with danger. I really do. Simply because the news moves in milliseconds these days. The life cycle of a story is so quick.
Yeah.
And public pylons, particularly using social media, are instantaneous. They can destroy people. One of our friends posted something on their own website to celebrate an important occasion in their family life. Would you believe? So it's their website, their family, mixed race couple. And overnight, someone in America got hold of it and absolutely piled into it. So by the time they woke up the following morning, the inbox was filled with all kinds of hatred to the point they had to take the website down and close the social media channels. It was just appalling. So we've seen how fast this sort of thing moves.
Yeah.
And it really can actually destroy people. So no, I just think there should be some kind of separation.
I agree.
So moving on to something different. So AI generated content, is that a problem? What can you trust now? So there's so many things, so many videos, so many all over social media, and you don't know what to trust anymore. They can be so like genuine looking. Do you find that is a problem with what you do, Jonathan?
Generally speaking, no, because most of the AI stuff we see is parody. And for example, this morning, there's loads of Keir Starmer parody stuff going around. I'll probably date this podcast. But the whole point about that is that people understand it's parody. Where we get involved is where there are people who have deliberately said malicious things about individuals or deliberately created a story which they've placed online about an individual, and so the AI stuff hasn't really affected us as much as I thought it would do at this point. That's not to say it won't, because the rate of change with AI is pretty much exponential at this moment in time.
Yeah, it's quite scary.
Yeah, it is frightening, the capabilities that it can have now, and by this time next year, I dread to think. So a lecture I was at last year, the visiting professor from Oxford University told us that the current forecast was that by the end of 2026, an AI would pass the Turing test, which means it would pass as being human.
Wow.
So we've not got long, folks.
Yeah, that's just frightening.
Becoming more useless.
Yeah. So it's not a problem now, but it will be in the future.
Yeah.
So do you work a lot with more brands than individuals with your reputation management?
Mostly individuals.
Right.
We do some brands, but mostly it's individuals, people who come to us because they have a very, very specific problem. And very often it's to do with stuff that's been published online, either in newspapers, separate websites, which are very often outside of the jurisdiction where we could control it. So they publish in Liechtenstein or Switzerland or Thailand, for example. So to avoid any legal process removing them. And then the social media that comes off the back of that. And the problem we have with social media is that there are bot farms, there are state-sponsored actors out there who will regularly churn and regurgitate stuff. And they're known as sock puppet accounts, where they are fake accounts. They're just made up. The last figure I saw was they reckon about 18% of certainly of Instagram accounts and X, I think it was at the same time, were sock puppet accounts. So almost 1 in 5. Just I know it's quite frightening. But I even called one of them out about 6 or 7 years ago. I wrote an article for our website because I spotted something being posted and I did a bit of a deep dive into it because I do a little bit of forensic investigation on the digital side, and I just came to the conclusion that this was a sock puppet account and called it out, and within a week it was closed. So yes, I was right. They realised they'd been burnt, so they destroy the account, but they'll spin up something else, and they can do this at an industrial scale. So if you want to foment unrest in a country, a state-sponsored actor would send hundreds of thousands of these accounts to try and dig it up. In fact, there was a report recently that in the Scottish independence debate, there was a lot of activity from Iran to try and split the country.
Wow.
Now, whether that's true or not, I can't say.
Yeah,
I read a report that said or suggested that was the case. I have to caveat this, obviously. But there is evidence, and there's very good evidence that state-sponsored actors are responsible for generating a lot of this stuff and for pushing a narrative online.
That's really worrying, isn't
It's
it?
very worrying, yeah.
Things that you don't think of, things that I wouldn't think
I
of.
wouldn't think of at all.
No, absolutely not. So back to politics in business and with your brand, Sharon. How do you navigate the two? So being a business owner, with your standing in your career, and then your views as well. You said that sometimes there's been a bit of negativity maybe about them. How do you navigate them? Apart from trying to keep them as separate as possible.
Yeah, I think it's a steep learning curve because years ago I was quite cocky with it and it didn't really have an impact, and I found most of my clients agree with me. In fact, I can't think of one that doesn't. So that then it was always, and it was just a topic of conversation as well that you have naturally. But as time's gone on and it becomes more contentious, I just keep them apart now completely.
Yeah.
And keep a lower profile and recognise that the brand isn't me, and it's a separate entity altogether.
Yeah.
But going forward, I will always keep them separate.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think, no, I'm going to do that, and my husband says, no. He was much better than me decades ago. Where he's like, no, you keep everybody on the right side. Don't ever separate people.
Yeah. I think for my personal opinion, really, I used to be a nurse for 17 years, and we discussed this on one of our previous podcasts. So I think when I was a nurse, because again, with your daughter being a teacher, you're very aware that you have to keep that profession, and you have to keep up with that brand, really.
Yeah.
So I was very careful what I liked, what I said on social media, very, very careful. Since being a business owner, I think that I've relaxed that a little bit, maybe. So, but probably not rightly so. Probably shouldn't be doing that. I should be probably a little bit more careful now. But yeah, it's worrying. It is.
So why should you be more careful?
Well, thinking about your brand, about keeping your company separate. So if I had any quite extreme views, I'm not saying if I do or I don't, but if I did, me expressing them, like you said, could it negatively affect our companies? So I'm very careful, or I try to be, but you know, I just think it's really difficult because I don't know. Maybe I'm just more into politics now as I've got older, but I just think now more so than ever, everybody knows a side. They take a side. It's more. It just seems more aggressive in ways.
It can be tribal,
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of people who are frustrated. I get people messaging me and sending me things thinking I can do something about it. And I think, well, what do you want me to do? You know, they're sending me, have you seen this, have you seen that? Because they want to do something, but they're all afraid to. So let's tell somebody else and she'll say it.
Yeah.
Give me the bullets to fire.
Yeah.
But people are afraid. Because we've had decades of comfort where people have gone to work and everything's been okay, and suddenly it's becoming apparent that isn't the case anymore, and who's going to stand up first, you know?
Well, I'm very much struck by the fact that back in around 2008, 2009, I distinctly remember politicians standing up and saying, if only we could get more young people engaged in politics. They seem completely disinterested in politics. We wish we could change that. Well, guess what? Your wish has come true. Everyone I know who's younger seems to have an opinion about things.
Yeah.
Whatever their opinion is, it's almost irrelevant. They have one, and you're right, it's become more polarised now, quite distinct. I've always worked on the basis that I may not agree with what you say, but I will defend to the death your rights to say it.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I think from a business point of view, we should be looking at it and saying businesses should remain neutral or apolitical unless it is part of your business policy
brand,
and strategy and brand to do so.
Yeah.
Otherwise, individuals within the business will free to choose whatever they want as their political persuasion, but that shouldn't affect what the business actually does for a living and how it delivers products and services to its customers.
Absolutely agree with that. Yeah, everybody should be free. I respect that, that's fine. If somebody disagrees with me, I like to know why, I like to hear why. I don't want to attack them or shout them down.
And that's the one thing that I will do with anybody who's got a strong opinion. I shall ask them why, and I'll keep asking them why until we get underneath it.
Yeah.
Can you show me evidence to support your why?
Yeah.
And you get interesting. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, precisely. Apart from anything else, I've read the manifestos, so I want to know if they have, and I want to know if they really know why they're supporting the people they're supporting.
Yeah.
You know, you only get one chance every 5 years to elect people, or 4 in the local elections. So make a big thing of it. Yeah, use your vote wisely.
Yeah, it's very precious.
It is. Yeah. It's incredibly precious and was fought for very, very long and very, very hard. So yeah, we should be conscious of that. But my view is businesses should probably not engage in politics unless it's absolutely something they really have decided that they want to do.
It's part of who they are. I completely agree.
That was actually my next question. So what advice would you give any business owners that were looking to get involved in politics or, you know, share an opinion? What advice?
I would say separate yourself as an individual, because your involvement in politics, like me as an individual, isn't the same as my businesses. They were not all owned by me. So it is the legal veil is the same thing. It's 2 different people. It isn't me. And let's hope that we can all end up in a place where people respect each other's opinion and don't attack people for it.
Yeah, definitely.
There was a time when local businessmen would be proud to be either a Labour or a Liberal Democrat or a Conservative candidate, and it would be part of their personal brand, but it didn't blow back on their businesses. It just didn't. Locally to us, the local Conservative candidate who stood runs a local business, and everyone knows them, and they've been that way for years. It was never a thing. People never had a problem with that. They accepted him for who he was. He did a professional job, irrespective of who you were and how you voted. Yeah. Now it seems to be that this toxicity has spread with the polarisation. So you need a separation now. You absolutely need a separation. And you're right, if you want to pursue a political career, make that a personal political career. Do not hitch it to your business at any point.
Yeah.
Keep that separate.
And lastly, another bit of advice for our listeners and viewers. So what would you advise that they can do personally to protect their digital reputation, and is there anything that they can take proactively rather than reactively?
In terms of what you could or should be doing, we always recommend a strategy of looking to own or control page one of the search results. And to do that, we've got a variety of techniques we can use and we can advise and guide people on. But if I give you a really good practical example, and I use this one when I'm doing talks, if I said the name Russell Brand to you, yeah, you're smiling, right?
Yeah.
So you already know, you've got an opinion, right? So in your head, you've got an opinion of him, okay? Without knowing that opinion, go and look his name up on Google and see how far you have to scroll down before you come across anything which is negative. Right. Last time I looked, which was a couple of weeks ago, it was number 14.
Wow.
Second page of Google was the first time you could see a story linked to anything that's gone on. Everything else, before that, he either owns or controls. And that is very clever online reputation management. It's exactly the kind of thing that people don't think about until it's too late.
Yeah.
But if you know you're going to be putting yourself into the public view, you should really make sure you've got someone talking to you about how do I protect my reputation online. And there's so many things you can do, preferably before it all hits the fan.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Sharon.
Thank
and
you.
Jonathan. It's fascinating. It's fascinating
really
to me.
Interesting.
It's been brilliant.
Yeah, it's just, it's a really interesting topic that I just would love to know more about, to be honest, because it's fascinating.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And that's it for today. Join us next time on Boardroom Backchat.
Type Podcast Studios.